The Bible says, "Fill your hungry soul with what's good." When we eat, we share, we grow. Every meal is a chance to be fed and to feed someone else. Life is like cooking. When it works, it doesn't matter if the process is fancy or simple. Good food and a life well lived comes down to how much heart you put in. Welcome to the very first episode of This Day. I'm so glad that you're watching. I couldn't think of anything more appropriate to make for the first episode than just traditional bread. Bread obviously has so many aspects of life, and it's all over the Bible. There's so many references to it. We have our saucepan, and we want to be able to warm it just enough because we want the yeast to activate. You might want to go ahead and give it a little bit of a whisk just to kind of put everything in. You can whisk it a little bit more when it's on the stove. Bread obviously has my heart. I grew up, this is my grandma's recipe, my mom's recipe. She passed it down to me. I've been making it for my kids for years, and I absolutely love it. And what this does is this gives kind of a sweet and savory. You want it to be sweet, but you also want it to be a little bit salty. So I'm going to go ahead and take this over to the stove, and we're going to go heat it up. You want to kind of test it with your finger a little bit to make sure that it's not too hot so it doesn't kill the yeast. Go ahead and sprinkle the yeast right on top, just like this. You have to let that sit for a second because we're proofing it. So in here, what we've done is we've mixed up all of our ingredients. So we're just gonna go ahead and start by putting maybe about a half a cup out here, because we're just gonna kind of knead this dough a little bit. So we wanna make sure that it's not gonna stick. So we're just gonna do about a half a cup or so like that. And we're gonna go ahead and take this out. And this is a pretty sticky dough, so you're gonna have to really pull it off the hook, and if you're doing this all mixing it by hand. You can do it all kinds of ways, and I'm sure you can Google another way if you don't have a stand mixer. And just take a little bit more flour just to kind of put on the top. And I always take my rings off because you don't want dough on your rings because then you have to clean them. So just make sure that it's all floured. And as we start to knead, I did want to talk to you about why I am grateful every time I make bread. When my husband and I, Dieter, were very, very young and we were first married, we didn't have any money. And, food was like one of those things. We had young kids and, we struggled a lot and I worried a lot. And then one day I sort of realized, you don't have to worry all that much And I started to do this thing where it was like, everybody is okay today. Everybody's healthy today. Everybody's been fed today. And so every time I make bread, it just sort of reminds me of that. It reminds me that today is taken care of and I really don't have to think about tomorrow. And you know, that's what the Lord's Prayer talks about. Give us this day our daily bread. And you can kind of see why we ended up calling the show This Day, is because I think it's just so fitting, because we're just here together right now, today, in this day. I think about everything I'm grateful for, and I just continue to count my blessings. So you can do that for a really long time, because bread takes a while to knead. So you can get a lot of blessings as you're kneading your bread. You can really count them and add them up very, very easily. So anyway, it looks like we're pretty good here. You kind of want it to be soft and elastic, and you kind of want it to make sure that you're not sticking to the board at all. And you can see we don't have to add in all of the flour, just enough to be for it not to stick onto the board. We're gonna let this rise for about an hour. So you do need to make sure that your bowl is oiled. So we're gonna pop them in here and kind of swirl them around to make sure that everything's really, really good. And we're gonna put saran wrap on him and a little towel on him, and we're gonna let him rest for about an hour. This has been rising for about an hour, and a little bit of flour on your hands helps to take the dough out. It's all warm and kind of soft. So I'm just gonna put that over here. And again, we just wanna sprinkle just a little bit more on top. We don't wanna really add a lot of flour. We mostly just wanna form it into the loaf that we're gonna be doing. So we're gonna punch it down and press it one more time, and see, it's just kind of really cooperating here. So let's just go ahead and form it into the loaf that we want as we set it in the pan. We're not really kneading it like we did the first time. We're kind of just forming it into a really beautiful, like I said, like a loaf. You want it to fill, and you want to make sure that the backside's a little pinched so that when it sits and rises again in the pan, you're gonna have a really, really pretty loaf of bread when it comes out. So we want to go ahead and put him in like a totally prepared greased pan, because we don't want anything to stick, and also a little bit of the grease is going to help it really brown. It's going to be super nice. So we're just going to set him in here just like that, so he's nice and pretty and settled. And then we're going to want to cover him one more time for a second resting and put him in a warm place, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to go ahead and do that for a half an hour. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.